Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news and Manchester United update show. I've got something interesting on the screen I want to talk about, but then I will get into the news of pretty much the Glazers screwing over Ten Hag already. What a surprise. Glazers out in the chat. Smash that like button if you were Glazers out. Get them bastards out the club. But basically, Ten Hag's having all these meetings in the international break, proposing ideas about getting good scouts in, kind of changing some structural changes, trying to implement things that would improve United for the better. And as you can see on the screen, we've spent the most money and overpaid for the most transfers. So if Ten Hag's suggesting something like a better transfer strategy, you'd think the Glazers would listen. We're going to get into the Glazers basically saying Antony's coming out of next summer's budget, refusing to spend money. However, we know if we continue the Glazers out movement, we can maybe pressure them into spending money. We'll talk about what's gone down with Ten Hag and the Glazers in recent meetings and all of that. There's a really good article from Laurie Whitwell that's come out about United's plans to spend money, which I want to get into in just a second. We'll also talk about Fabrizio Romano. Fabrizio Romano's gone in the United stand today, and he's given a bit of a transfer update. And one of the players he spoke about of a potential deal is Cody Gakpo to United. He says the Griezmann stuff he thinks is a load of rubbish, but there is something in Cody Gakpo to United because we know United had a genuine interest in him. We will get into some other bits of news like Manchester United players having food poisoning and all of that. So do hit that like button and of course subscribe down below if you're new. And of course, sod the Glazers in the chat. Avram's face is so punchable, says Gaz. You know what, you're right. Now, I don't like Joe and Avram Glazer, but if I had to punch one of them, I think it would be Avram. He's got a more punchable face. All right, there's a random question that's not related to United news. Who's got a more punchable face, Joe or Avram Glazer? I think it is Avram. It's that smile. I bet that thumbnail's going to be triggering some people. So he's all smiling. Oh, Ten Hag, hi. No, you're not getting any money in January. Ha, 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 ha. Oh, he's a wanker. All right, but let's get right into the news. Big up everybody in the chat. Thank you for all the birthday messages, people. It is my birthday today. However, in England, it's a bank holiday, so literally nothing's open. So we are here live bitching out about the Glazers on my birthday because that's what I do best. But let's get into it as well. So I want to quickly get into this before I get into the news. So this was this really cool graph. I love graphs. I love stats. I feel like a bit of a nerd. But this graph says no team has overspent more in transfer fees over the last decade than Manchester United, and that Man United have paid 1.59 billion. Fuck me. For 33 players whose combined market value was 1.36 billion, representing an overpayment of 238 million, brackets 18%. So basically, this statistic on your screen, I hope you can see it. So I make the screen a little bit bigger. There we go. This statistic for you guys on the screen. Let me know if it's clear. Basically, this graph means they've basically it's basically how much money you've spent, but how much the player's worth. So Antony, we spent 80 million pounds on, but his market value was 40 million pounds on. So they estimate that we spent 40 million too much on Antony. So in this graph, it's how much money we've spent on the over here. And then they said the estimated total, how much the players were actually worth, like how much have we overspent for? And then here is the gap total. And here is the gap percentage. So although Juventus have had a 29% overpayment, no team has overspent more on transfers in the last decade than United. 238 million above market value. To put that into perspective, Manchester City don't even make the chart. Manchester City have spent, the only team that's spent near enough the same amount of money as United in the last 10 years, and they don't even make the chart for overspending. Liverpool have only spent 56 million pounds more than what their players are worth. United, 238 million. So basically what they're saying is, what this graph means is if we had a proper sporting director, proper owners and proper scouts, we'd have probably spent about 300 million less to get all the players that we've got in the last 10 years. Like we probably could have gotten for about 238 million less. But that's what happens when you hire incompetent people at the club. And United and Juventus is a bit like United at the moment. They are two very incompetent fucking clubs. I'll tell you that now. And I thought that graph was quite interesting as well. But big up everybody in the chat. Thanks for the birthday wishes, people. Do appreciate it. I did get drunk at the weekend. People saying, what are you doing tonight? Nothing. I went out Saturday and Sunday. Fuck me, I feel fucking horrific today. So today is literally, I woke up, I watched the funeral, and now I'm ranting about the Glazers. I cannot look at alcohol until I'm going out next Saturday, but feel absolutely horrific. So I'm very happy to literally lie in bed and watch a funeral this morning. I won't lie. Avram looks like a gold member. Avram just looks like a fucking rat, doesn't he? Yeah, but smash a like because it's my birthday today. Yeah, I'm going to use that to ask everyone to hit the like button now as well. Where is Barcelona? It's in Spain. But honestly, 238 million seems like an understatement for the performances to suggest we've overpaid by $1 billion. You're right, rebuild. Now, we've only overspent by 238 million in the last 10 years, but you're right, it generally feels, I think that's generous. I think that is very generous, you know. I think that's very generous because I tell you this now, half our players feel like absolute crap in the last 10 years as well. So let's get into the news. Let's get into some things. We will do a Q&A at the end of the live stream because I haven't been live the last 2 nights, and I was thinking about going live yesterday afternoon, and then I just sat there and I just thought there's sod fucking all to talk about. Now I try and do 6 lives a week, 1 live every week, and I just take the 1 day off. And I've been doing about 4 lives a week for the last 2 weeks. But there's no fucking Man United. The games are postponed. It's sorting international break. There was so much to talk about, but today, because I haven't gone live in a while, there's loads to talk about. There's enough to talk about for an hour. You know, we've got topics that we're going to talk about. For example, how the Glazers are a disgrace. We're going to talk about Malacia versus Shaw. Actually, I'm going to quickly get into Malacia versus Shaw, and then I'm going to get into the Glazers story and what's gone down in the meeting. Why are people all of a sudden forcing this comparison of Malacia versus Shaw? I see people hating on Malacia. I fucking don't get it. I just want them both to play well. I don't care who plays as long as they play fucking well. But I think right now, Malacia comfortably ahead of Luke Shaw. But yeah, let's get into the news and all of that as well. So do smash that like button. Do subscribe down below. Do share the video. I'm 22, not 23 as well. Joel looks like a boiled egg. I do agree with you there, Gaz. So, what is going on in the world of United? Let me mute my phone because that's going to annoy me. It's going ping, ping. I don't want my phone to be going ping. So, Laurie Whitwell came out with a really interesting article as well. I'm going to get what Laurie Whitwell said. Oh, computers. I can hear the computer fan going. The computer's going to make a really loud noise in a minute. I can just tell. So, do apologise if that picks up on the stream. Do need to improve the quality a little bit. But anyway, let's get into Laurie Whitwell's article. Now, Laurie Whitwell works for The Athletic. We all know Laurie Whitwell, good journalist, works for The Athletic. La-di-la-di-la-di-la-di-la. We need to keep protesting, as Paul says. 100% agree. Laurie Whitwell says, Erik Ten Hag has spoken about planning for the January window, but Manchester United executives are looking at summer 2023 for the next chance to add properly for the squad. So we know Erik Ten Hag wants investment in January. Now, with my live stream about 3 days ago, what did I say? Erik Ten Hag came out after the Sheriff win. We beat Sheriff 2-0. And what did Erik Ten Hag say after the Sheriff win? He said we need to look to make changes in January, change the structure in and around the squad. Erik Ten Hag publicly came out and said he wants people in January. He wants to change the structure in and around the squad. He's going to use the international break to do that. You know, the meetings, bish, bash, bosh, all of that. Well, guess fucking what? Erik Ten Hag thinks, oh, we could get some good scouts in. We could change the structure of United, get some proper footballing people in, some intelligent people in so we can be better on the transfer market. We could change the structure of Man United so we actually get our transfer business done early. Ten Hag wanting to plan for next summer now because the reason Ten Hag wants to plan for next summer fucking now in this international break is because, one, this is the only break Ten Hag's going to get into the World Cup. Let me just take water. But 2, Ten Hag gave Man United, and this is a fucking disgrace. Ten Hag gave Man United, Murta, Woodward, whoever the fuck it was, with Murta and Arnold, he gave them a list in April. Ten Hag gave them a list in April about the players he wanted in by the beginning of July. Didn't get any of those players in until fucking August. Now, Ten Hag's thinking, well, I gave them a list 3 months before the transfer window opened and they still didn't get my transfer targets. Ten Hag is giving them a list of who he wants next season now because he's like, Ten Hag wants to change the strategy of this club. Ten Hag's a bit like, I need them to act quicker on transfers. Ten Hag wants United to completely change their approach in the transfer market. He wants us to be quicker on deals. He wants us to go for players that he wants, not players of commercial value. And he wants us to invest in January. And it's very obvious Ten Hag wants to invest in January. It's very obvious Ten Hag wants an investment in January. The problem is some little ratty bastards that own Manchester United called the Glazers, they don't want to spend money unless they have to. And the reason I say the Glazers won't spend money unless they have to is because That is what they do. The Glazers, this is Ten Hag's first ever season. People are forgetting, Man United have come off the back of their worst ever season in about 10 years. No, it has been our worst ever season. Yeah, we've literally come off the back of our worst ever season in the Premier League history. You know, I'm talking Prem history. We've come off the back of pretty much our worst ever season in a long time, United. And we got a new manager in Ten Hag. So you're thinking, all right, we've had a worst season ever. We need significant investment. The squad is at an all-time low. We've got a brand new manager in. We're hearing in April. We're hearing in March. Summer 2022 is going to be the biggest transfer window in United history. That's what we're hearing. Summer 2022 is going to be massive. It's going to be Man United going to back Ten Hag. You're not going to spend a load of money on Ten Hag. They did in the end, but that wasn't the plan. United linked all these stories when we were losing week in, week out. It was 4-0 to Brighton. They sat Ragnick. They did all these PR stories from how much money they were going to give Ten Hag and how they were going to back Ten Hag to the end. And then we got to a point in the transfer window, come early August, where no, you're not getting De Jong, you're getting Rabiot. No, you're not getting Anthony, you're getting an Arnautovic. And they were more than happy to leave it with about a net spend of about 70 million. They were more than happy to give Ten Hag a net spend of about 70 million in his first season at United after inheriting the worst Manchester United squad in the history of this club. Like, that was the worst Manchester United squad in the history of United that Ten Hag inherited, and they were going to give him £70 million until what? Jim Ratcliffe goes public. I want to buy United. Michael Knighton goes public. We're putting a consortium together to buy United. Hostile bids being talked about. Elon Musk tweeting, I'll buy United. Pressure on the Glazers. Glazers' rep goes down. Protest versus Liverpool. 4-0 Brentford battering. And all of a sudden, Jim Ratcliffe goes in again. I want to buy United. They've lost 4-0 to Brentford. The fans are protesting. This is my chance. Jim Ratcliffe speaks. All of a sudden, we've got £150 million that we didn't have. Oh, some £150 million, but we didn't have that the day before Jim Ratcliffe went public. And then Jim Ratcliffe goes, oh, I'm interested in buying United. 150 million. Anthony Casemiro, bish, bash, fucking bosh. 130 million to be specific. Now, that is the Glazers. They don't want to spend money unless they have to. Next summer, they don't want to spend money. This January, they don't want to spend money. And I always look at it and I go, this is Ten Hag's first season. He's got to deal with the worst United squad in pretty much the history of United, and they didn't want to spend money on him. Now, Ten Hag got money spent on him. Do you know what they're saying? Do you know what the Glazers are saying about the money they spent on Ten Hag? Do you know what the Glazers are saying? The Glazers are saying, oh, Anthony, we overpaid for Anthony massively, so he's going to come out of next summer's budget. That's what the Glazers are saying. We overspent massively on Anthony. Let's take him out of next summer's budget. You what? The reason we overspent massively on Anthony is because of the incompetence of the board. Ten Hag in April said, I want this Anthony guy who'll be about £40 million. Anthony in April's price tag was £45 million, 50 million euros. Anthony's price tag when we've got him from in August, because we realised we fucked up the whole transfer window and the pressures on the Glazers with the protest, it's 100 million. So we spent £40 million more on Anthony, not because of Ten Hag, because you employ incompetent bankers to do the work. If Manchester United thought, you know what, let's bring in someone good, let's bring in someone that knows transfers, you know what, we probably would have got Anthony for 40 fucking million. So how dare the Glazers go and basically say Anthony's going to come out of next summer's budget because he was so expensive and we massively overpaid for him? No, he doesn't come out of next summer's budget. Instead, you should sack John Murty, you should sack Richard Arnold for ignoring Anthony when he was £40 million, going to Barcelona to not get De Jong, going to Turin to not get Rabiot, even though I didn't want Rabiot, absolutely embarrassing themselves. Why don't you sack Richard Arnold and John Murta for embarrassing themselves this window and having to overpay for Anthony and not doing the business quicker when Man City absolutely show us up again in the transfer market? Instead, no, we'll keep Murta, we'll keep Arnold because they're our little puppets, and we're going to take about 50 million off next summer's transfer budget because, you know, that is the Anthony money. That's what the Glazers will do. And the only way they won't do that is if there's pressure on them, if there's rumours of someone buying United, if there's Glazers out protests. So I tell you guys now, even if we win the league, which is not going to happen, even if we go and spend a load of money in January, okay, and we're in a brilliant place, continue the Glazers out movement, because they will, and I tell you this now, and this is a fact, they will absolutely shaft Ten Hag. They will absolutely shaft Ten Hag come summer 2023 as well. They're shit businessmen. The funny thing is, Gaz is right. The Glazers are businessmen. They're absolute businessmen. But the funny thing about the Glazers, they're shit at it. If they were smart businessmen, they'd actually get people in that know the transfer market. We'd spend less money and have better players if they were smart businessmen. But as Gaz says, they're shocking businessmen. They're bankers. Get the greedy American leeches out of the club. Exactly. And I want to show you what I tweeted. And then I do want to get into the news story about the meeting and all that. But I want to show you what I tweeted. So I tweeted this last night. I said, remember the Glazers didn't want to buy Anthony. It was only when Jim Ratcliffe went public they started spending. If the Glazers out movement goes quiet, I fully expect Ten Hag to get shafted next Jan and summer window. And this is the thing. And this is the thing I want to come across. And then I do want to get into the news because I've just been moaning and I haven't really got into the news. This is one of the things I want to talk about. The Glazers. They are spending because of the Glazer out movement. They are spending because of pressure on them. They're spending because of Jim Ratcliffe's name. They didn't want to buy Anthony. Remember this. They don't want to spend in January. In fact, Ten Hag's come out publicly after the Sheriff winner said he wants investment in January. He wants a structure change. Ten Hag is having meetings right now with the board, the Glazers, everyone about talking in January. And then insider Laurie Whitwell says it's unlikely they'll spend in January. The Glazers would rather invest in the summer. Ten Hag wants January investment. Ten Hag's making a plan. The Glazers are already reluctant to spend come 2023. Not just the January window, but we've been told that it's likely, because of the price of Anthony, that next summer we won't get anywhere near as much in the transfer window. I'm talking 60 million for Ten Hag next summer in the transfer window to get a Ronaldo replacement. 60 million. If we lose a few games, the BPR spends about 200 million budgets and all of that. Remember Ollie's first season. This is what I'm going to tell you guys. Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Daniel James. 150 million. I know. 150 million spent on Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, and Daniel James. I mean, fuck. That's it. But he did get 150 million. No matter who he spent 150 million on, he did get 150 million. Okay? But what did Ollie get the window after? Cavani on a free. Telles for about 5 million. Donny, who he didn't want. Panicked, pressure, Glazers out protest, will spend 38 million on Amad Diallo. He got basically Donny Van De Beek, who we didn't want. He got Cavani on free that actually paid off, but that was a 50-50 risk. He got Telles, who was fucking shit. He got Ahmad and Palestri sent out on loan. That's what Ollie got in the second summer. And that is exactly what's going to happen to Ten Hag in the second summer. They're already saying, Ten Hag's talking about investing in January, structure change at the club. The Glazers are already saying no. They're already shutting it down. Now, there's a potential, if there's an injury crisis in the Glazers out movement and pressures on the Glazers for someone like Cody Gakpo in January. Fabrizio Romano actually spoke about Cody Gakpo still being a United target, which I will get into. But remember this, the Glazers, they're not going to invest in Ten Hag unless there's more pressure on them as well. If not, Glazers say, where are my dividends? This is the funny thing. The Glazers are coming out saying there's no money in January. The Glazers are coming out saying there's no money available in January. Watch them take money out of dividends. The only money coming out of United in January is dividends. Glazers will say we'll only spend in 2024. The Glazers pretty much want to get through 2023, not spending on Ten Hag and wait a season. They want to save money. And you know what, Glazers? If you don't have the money to spend on United, sell it. My message to the Glazers, if you don't have the money to spend on Manchester United, we'll go ahead and sell Manchester United, because there's people out there that want to buy Manchester United that have the money to invest in Manchester United and will put United in a good place. So if you don't have the money to put United in the best place, rather than sitting there taking money out the club in dividends, even though you've got no money to spend on transfers but money to spend on dividends, why don't you go and invest that money, you know, in United, or in fact actually do what we all want and you to sell United? But let me actually get into the report here. So obviously, Erik Ten Hag has spoken about planning for the January window, but Manchester United executives are looking at summer 2023 for a chance to add to the squad properly, said Laurie Whitwell. Laurie Whitwell also said Erik Ten Hag will use this break to evaluate his Manchester United squad and plan possible additions. Laurie Whitwell said that Ten Hag is planning possible additions for United during this break and looking in the squad. However, Ten Hag speaking about the January transfer window, those higher up at United don't want to invest in January and they're thinking about the summer. He also said, and this was an interesting thing, and I'm going to get this up on the screen for you guys. I'm going to get this up on the screen for you guys here if it comes up. It won't. Do you know why it won't come up? Do you know why the quote won't come up? Because I spelt Laurie Whitwell wrong. That's what. Come on. Put another L here. Now it should come up. Here we go. So this was the other thing he said. Laurie Whitwell followed it up by saying, Erik Ten Hag is keen to get to the next stage of his rebuild, but funds are expected to be very tight. Shock. When the winter market opens, Joel, Glazer, Arnold and Murta are focused firmly on summer 2023 as their next opportunity to significantly add to the squad. So you've got Laurie Whitwell, a very good journalist with very good sources around United, saying Ten Hag basically wants to spend money in January, but the funds are going to be tight because the Glazers, Arnold and Murta are focused on the summer. They're not focused on the fucking summer. I'll tell you this now, Ten Hag will give them a list in bloody March about who he wants to sign in the summer, and we'll be sitting here in August going into the start of next season probably all prepared. They want to just sit on their arse all day, count their money. That's what they want to do. Bloody Glazers and Murta. Do you know what will be funny? The funds are tight. We've been told, no, the funds at United are really tight. So you know what's going to happen? Dividends. They'll take 12 million out in dividends come January. They will. They'll say, we've got no money to spend on transfers, but we'll take 12 million out in dividends. The funny thing is, if United didn't take out dividends 2 Januaries ago, they could have signed Moises Caicedo for £4.5 million. United took out more money in dividends in that January window than they spent on money. We had a chance to sign Moises Caicedo for £4.5 million. We'll probably sign in 2 years for 50 million. We had a chance to sign Man City star Julian Alvarez, a young striker, something we're crying out for, a fucking striker. We're crying out for a striker more than any other position in the world. But we had a chance to go out and sign Julian Alvarez, Ralph Rangnick recommended, for £15 million in January. No, they'd rather take that money in dividends and not spend and invest in the club. Julian Alvarez and Moises Caicedo are 2 current Premier League players that would have cost United £20 million combined. How much right now are we crying out for Moises Caicedo and Julian Alvarez? A backup DM that's good, that's young, that's one for the future, long-term Casemiro replacement, and a young striker in Alvarez. Oh my God, we'd probably pay 80 million for Alvarez and Caicedo now. They're the players of the future. We could have got them for 20 million. But United have this thing, they won't spend in January unless they have to. Because they do not care about the squad. They only want top 4 so they can have more money. And the only money that ever comes out United in January is dividends as well. Alice, everyone agrees about Glazers out, but for me, it's time for any future ownership possible to put up or shut up. This is the thing. I'm at the point where I'll take any owners of United. We need a striker to join in Jan desperately. I've got a question for you guys. So there are reports, and now I think that basically Laurie Whitwell is saying the funds are tight in January, and it's very unlikely United are going to spend in January. And the Sun are saying United have £70 million to spend in January. Now, if you've got a choice to believe the Sun or Laurie Whitwell, you'd be idiotic to pick the Sun. Laurie Whitwell's a tier 1 source. Laurie Whitwell's an absolute tier 1 source saying it's tight, the Glazers don't want to spend money, Ten Hag wants to spend money, the Glazers don't, la-di-la-di-la. And then you've got tier 3, the Sun, saying we've got 70 million to spend in January. As much as I'd like to believe the Sun report, I don't think it's true. But let's say the report that we are going to spend 70 million in January is all of a sudden true. Where would you invest? Would it be a striker? Would it be a right back? Would it be a centre mid? Would it be a DM? Would it be a goalkeeper? What would you do with the £70 million? For me, I'd try and go out and get Ivan Toney or Victor Osimhen. And that's what I'd try and do come January. I'd try and get an out-and-out striker. I think Ronaldo is probably past it. However, a lot of people, and I'm going to say this now, and you can clip this, you can come back to this, you can mug me off come end of the season. I generally believe Cristiano Ronaldo, come October, come Martial being back and then alternating, I generally think come end of the season will be Cristiano Ronaldo have a good season at United this year. I think he's not match sharp. People are saying Ronaldo's finished, he's not ready and all of that. I still think Ronaldo's going to have a really good season at United. I could just see he's not matched up and he's sort of getting better game by game. And it's just about him getting used to the system and he missed the pre-season. I'm not too worried about Ronaldo, but I would get a striker in because Martial can't stay fit. Ronaldo cannot play every week. Rashford, for me, is a left winger. I would go all out for Victor Osimhen, who we won't get unless we want to pay 100 million. So I'd probably go all out for Ivan Toney. But let me know in the chat, where would you spend the so-called money if we do have it in January as well? I think the board can give 150 million in January. I mean, in an ideal world, we'd go out and sign Frankie de Jong and Victor Osimhen in January, but it's never going to happen. I think next summer, we know that Ten Hag's plan for 2023 is a right back and centre back, so that will be Jurriën Timber. We know a box-to-box midfielder, so it's Bellingham or De Jong, and a striker. Ten Hag wants one defender, one midfielder, one striker, and he does want to evaluate the goalkeeper situation. Ten Hag, in an ideal world, will want either Osimhen or Ivan Toney up front. He'll want either De Jong and Bellingham in midfield. He'll want Timber in defence because he can be back up to Delo, and he'll want a new goalkeeper in 2023. I guarantee that's what Ten Hag will tell the board. That's what Ten Hag wants. I guarantee the board will say you've got 60 million, you can get 2 players, fuck off. That's what they'll probably say to Ten Hag as well. Someone said there's a Brighton fan. Thanks. Brighton absolutely obliterated us last season, and Moises Caicedo is an absolute baller. We're on 151 likes, guys. I'm going to milk it because today is my birthday. So the thing is, because it's my birthday and that's only a once a year thing, I'm going to tell you guys that you've got to subscribe to me. You've got to subscribe to me, guys. So please do go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and please do go ahead and hit that like button. If you do want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates and more, please do subscribe to Alice Talks Football. I go live every single evening on the channel, keeping you guys up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates and more. Basically, I whinge and I moan about United, but I do watch-alongs, live news shows, short videos and more. So please do subscribe if you're new and all of that as well. Paul, you're absolutely spot on with saying we must back Ten Hag all the way as well. For the 70 million, I would send the Glazers to Neptune. Very smart thinking there as well. There are reports about Ronaldo being off in January. I don't know what to say on that. I think we'll have to wait and see nearer the time. I think Ronaldo would only be off in January if we were going to buy someone in January. And if I'm being honest, I can't see United spending money in January. So I believe Ronaldo will stay till the end of his contract and then leave in the summer. If some players are on high wages and aren't available first team duty, get them off payroll. I mean, I don't even know why I don't know why we don't just terminate Phil Jones's contract. Like, why are we still got Phil Jones at the club? Is anyone just sit here and sometimes think, wait, Phil Jones is still a United player? Ten Hag's kicked Phil Jones out the dressing room. Phil Jones is no longer in the United dressing room. Phil Jones and Brandon Williams got kicked out the United dressing room by Ten Hag, and they have to get changed with like the under 21s. You know, Phil Jones, you know, I mean, Prince Andrew might like getting changed with the under 21s, but you know, Phil Jones, he's what, 30? He was meant to be the next big thing. He's still at United, injury prone, and he's been forced to play with the under 21s and get changed with the under 21s. You know, I just think, and Brandon Williams been kicked out. I just think, well, it's clear Ten Hag don't want them, so why don't we just get rid of them? Like, terminate the fucking contract. There's no point having Phil Jones, who's just going to... The thing about Phil Jones is keeping him at the club just costs us, because, I mean, maybe he's there to train the medical staff because he's always injured, but I do sometimes think with Phil Jones, we might as well just get rid of him. We might as well just get rid of him as well. Paul says, Alice, have a drink. I can't. I'm avoiding alcohol for a couple of days. I had too much at the weekends as well. And unless we finish top in the top four, forget De Jong and Bellingham, says Gene. I agree. Now, actually, guys, let me know in the live chat down below. Do you think we're going to get top four this season? Do you think you're going to get top four? Who do you think is going to get top four? Everybody put in the chat your top four predictions. And as well, big up everybody for all the birthday messages. I do appreciate the support as well. I think we can sell Ronaldo summer 2023. He will leave on a free summer 2023. And Phil Jones will be here long after the Glazers are gone. I actually have a feeling that Phil Jones is never going to leave. I mean, honestly, Phil Jones gets a testimonial this year. Does he actually? My God. But a lot of people saying a lot of people are confident we're getting top four. This is the thing, okay? City and Arsenal, for me, are nailed on top four this season. Even with injuries to Partey, Arsenal do look good this season. And I do think Arsenal don't have the squad depth. I don't think Arsenal win the league. I think they're going to massively, massively drop off after the World Cup. But I think City and Arsenal are nailed on top four. Okay? I think Tottenham Hotspur are a bit overrated. I don't think Tottenham Hotspur are as good as people think they are. I think Chelsea, I think Potter's a great manager and Chelsea spent a lot of money. But, you know, Potter's got to deal with a squad of players that he wouldn't normally use. And I think Liverpool are off it. So I think, you know, you've got Arsenal, City nailed on top four right now. I think it's between United, Tottenham, Liverpool and Spurs to get the other places. And I think Spurs will come third. And it's between United, Chelsea and Liverpool for fourth. And I actually think Chelsea will probably get fourth because their owner wants to spend a shit ton of money and they'll probably find a way through. But I do have a feeling that United could maybe get top four. Now, I still think we might win the Europa League. And I don't think if right now, I know we've won games in a row, but I'm not confident enough for us to get top four. And the reason I haven't bet or really thought about United getting top four is purely because of the World Cup. After the World Cup, we've got basically, in October, we've got, 13 games in October or something? Should we look at it? I honestly, MSM, fucking hell. Let's look at our October schedule, guys. We're literally playing a game every 3 days in October. So here comes October. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 games in October. 10, 11, 12. We've got 13 games in about 40 days. We've got 13 games in, I think, 44 days. So that is literally a game every 3 days, basically. Every 3.5 days is a game. So there's basically, from now, until, from the end of the international break until the World Cup, is a game every 3 days. And then after the international break, let's say we stay in the FA Cup, Carabao Cup and Europa League, there will also be a game every 3 days. So literally, after this international period break, there's a game every 3 days. And I think, to be fair, I think City and Arsenal are nailed on top four, but I think a big thing of it is going to be squad depth and injuries. So I think Chelsea have the squad depth. Liverpool definitely don't have the squad depth. And Tottenham, they don't really have the squad depth. So to be fair, I think it's about luck and injuries and all of that. And if we are shit, then a lot of our players won't go to the World Cup and they'll get rest. But 9 games in 29 days, as Gaz said. 9 into 29, yeah, that's basically 1 in every 3. And then you got the odd day with a 4-day gap between. But 9 games in 29 days is a lot for United. And a lot of people coming out there basically saying, oh, Donny Van De Beek's barely playing and Luke Shaw's barely playing and Fred's barely playing. And this is the thing. A lot of the players that have barely played this season are going to be playing a lot soon, because we've got 13 games in about 44 days between now and the World Cup. And then after the World Cup, it's a game every 3 days. Physically, we're going to have to rotate a lot, because this is honestly one of the tightest seasons in terms of fixtures all in once without a break. It's absolutely mad. And I think for me, I think Liverpool will struggle. I think Liverpool have got awful depth. I actually think Liverpool aren't going to finish in the top 4. I think Spurs will probably come 3rd, and I think Chelsea have better depth than us, then could come 4th. However, Potter being new, I think 4th is up for grabs. And, if you'd said to me after we lost 4-0 to Brighton, will Man United finish in the top 4? I would have laughed. I'd have gone, no fucking way. I'd say, I wish we finished in the top 4, but no chance. I actually think there is potential for United to go out there and finish in the top 4. But for me, it all depends on injuries, because this fixture list is absolutely mad. I mean, it's still mid-September. Time to calm down a bit. United are not top 4 club yet. The thing is, we're not yet, but we should be a Premier League winning club. But 9 games in October is a lot. It's a hard schedule. I mean, I've been complaining about the lack of games in September, but we're going to be doing a lot of watch-alongs come October. So if you are new right now and you're not subscribed to my channel, remember, I go live every single evening on my channel, and I do watch-alongs to every single United game. And considering we've got about 13 games in the space of about 6 weeks coming up after the international break, that's pretty much 2 watch-alongs a week. So do subscribe, by the way, as well. Niall Kane says, thoughts on United Leeds being postponed. You know what? It was handy for me, because it was my birthday today, but I went out at the weekend, so I actually had loads to do at the weekend. So it actually was quite nice just, have the day off and do nothing, because I was going to be busy. However, it was annoying that the game before that, the Crystal Palace game, was postponed. If the Crystal Palace game wasn't postponed, I would have been fine with United Leeds being called off, because I know it does take a lot of fucking police, because the Leeds fans are crazy. But it was the fact that we had 2 weeks without Premier League football, plus a 2-week international break. So for me, if one of the games was called off, fine. But because both were called off, Palace and Leeds, it was just annoying. And I just thought, well, if the cricket can go on, why can't the football go on? Now, I was quite lucky for me that this was the weekend I was super busy that was going to be called off. But if I wasn't doing anything this weekend, I'd have been well pissed United Leeds were called off, because that'd be something to do, But look, I just think, well, 1, it's not in London, the game. 2, I understand it requires a lot of police, but the funeral's Monday, the game was a Sunday. For me, I still wouldn't have called off the game. I still think it's silly, but I guess it's all safety reasons. And the sad thing is, Leeds United is like the game that needs the most police. Like United Liverpool, that needs police, but United Leeds, those Leeds fans, I tell you, I see all these funny things about United Leeds fan beef. And my favourite memory was, and I forgot what the channel's called, but I always see clips of it. It's like a Leeds fan channel on YouTube. And remember, Leeds hadn't been in the Premier League for 20 years. And we're Leeds' biggest rivals. United are Leeds' biggest rivals. And I remember, we don't care about Leeds. Our rivals are City and Liverpool. I mean, we do care about Leeds, but not as much as they care about us. And all I remember is watching Leeds Fan TV or whatever it's called, and they were getting real pumped up to play United again in the Premier League. Hadn't played United again in the Premier League for about 20 odd years, and within 2 minutes, Scott McTominay scored 2 goals and they go 2-0 down. I thought, they were the days, they were the memories. But Arsenal are only a few injuries away from being irrelevant again. I do agree, but they are playing quite well at the moment as well. And if we didn't get the top 4, the blame are on the Glazers. They didn't want to invest in the squad 100%. If we don't get top 4 and we're only 3-4 points off top 4 and we didn't invest in January, that's fully on the Glazers. If we don't get this is the thing. If we don't get top 4, I'll blame the Glazers, even though I didn't expect Ten Hag to get top 4 in his first season. But do you know what the most frustrating thing will be? Let's say Man United don't get top 4 because we have a bit of an injury crisis, or let's say Manchester United don't get top 4 just because we were like 1 point off top 4. If we end up being something like 1 point off top 4, or if we end up being, let's say, an injury crisis away at the end of the season and we just miss out on top 4, that's when I'll go on the Glazers for not investing. If we have an injury crisis just after the World Cup in January and the Glazers make Ten Hag work with an injury crisis when we've got a game every 3 days, then it will be an absolute joke from the Glazers, an absolute joke as well. Keep smashing the like buttons, people, as well. We need to get a miracle for top 4. I think it's possible, but I think it will be. I think this season it is a little bit about injuries and fitness. I think this is the season injuries and fitness will just be more important than every season. Klopp might not even last the season, which would be brilliant. Klopp's got this 7th season curse. Alice, can you see Sir Jim Ratcliffe taking full control of United? I don't want to say yes and I don't want to say no, because the reason I don't want to say yes is because it's very obvious the Glazers don't want to sell. Jim Ratcliffe wants to buy United. Jim Ratcliffe's got the money, but the Glazers don't want to sell. The reason the Glazers don't want to sell United is that's 25 million a year in dividends they can take out the club. Easy money. However, we do know from talking to sources close to the Glazers, they don't have an emotional attachment to United. All United is for the Glazers is money. So if Jim Ratcliffe put in a really generous bid, but he was overpaying for United, the Glazers will see that as very good in terms of business. He's massively overpaying for this. This suits us. So the Glazers might sell in the sense of, business, So for me, we know the Glazers, they don't want to sell United because they can rinse us for cash. However, they don't have an emotional attachment to United. They don't support United. So if a deal came along that would be good for them business-wise to sell United, they'd do it. Now, for me, I think, a lot of it will be about continuing the Glazers out protest. We know, and I will tell you this now, this is a reason to continue the Glazers out movement. Members of the Glazer family are done with United. The Glazer family, and I talked about this in the video just, maybe 2 weeks ago, the Glazer family had a meeting after the Brentford game, during the Liverpool protests. And members of the Glazer family are kind of done with United. They just think we should sell it. The problem is Joe and Avram, who have got the highest stake out of the Glazer family in United, want to keep it. But they're members of the Glazer family that no longer want United. They just unfortunately don't have the power Joe and Avram have, which for me suggests the protest is working. So I think if we continue the protest, continue pressure on the Glazers, they could potentially sell. But I think what would really need to happen for them to sell is a generous bid where, in a business perspective, because the Glazers think about business, not about love for the club, it would make sense for them to sell because it would be such a good business opportunity. However, I can't see Jim Ratcliffe deciding to massively overspend for United. I think it's possible. I think there's a lot of reports that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in the next 2 years. I don't want to say yes because I think the Glazers don't want to sell, but I don't want to say no because it is definitely possible. And I think it just comes down to certain circumstances in the future and how they're going to play out, I think, the future of United. Guys, please do subscribe to the channel if you were new, by the way. Every like, every sub, every share means a lot. We still got a lot to talk about, actually. I want to get into some of the quotes that Fabrizio Romano came out and said as well. But please do subscribe to the channel because we are, it would mean a lot. But basically, yeah, we're going to talk about some of the stuff Fabrizio Romano said. Denzel Dumfries to Manchester United situation is open, not just for January, but for next summer as well. We want to get into a little bit of transfer news. I do want to get into some more stories on the Glazers, some more stories on Ten Hag, so do stay tuned for that. But yeah, in 14 matches, we can get 10 for draws, says Thingy. And big up everybody in the chat as well. Let me scroll down to the bottom of the chat. This is the last international break to the World Cup. Shame Rashford isn't fit, but I think he might get called up for the World Cup. Hey Alice, what do you think about Jude Bellingham? Very, very good player. I do like him, and it would be brilliant if we signed him because all the Liverpool fans want him, and it really pissed off Liverpool fans as well. So the first story that came out from Fabrizio Romano today on the United stand was United going in for Denzel Dumfries at right back. Now, United definitely want a right back. As brilliant as Deleu's been, as much as Ten Hag loves Deleu, Ten Hag does want a right back to challenge Deleu. Ten Hag does want a right back, someone that's going to offer real competition to Diego Deleu. So the first report was about, potentially United going in for a right back. We know the plan for 2023 is right back, midfielder, striker, and potentially a goalkeeper. Fabrizio Romano also went on the United stand and said there are rumours about Grealish to United, but he thinks the Spanish clubs are pushing that and United aren't interested in Griezmann. Ten Hag, there's lots of reports about Griezmann coming to United. I don't believe it. Griezmann's not a Ten Hag player. However, one of the interesting things Romano did say today on the United stand was this. And I want to get this up here. Let me find this for you. So this was here. He said regarding transfers that he would keep it a potential deal for Cody Gakpo open because United on Gakpo had a different approach this summer. So I think there's potential that United is still in for Cody Gakpo. And Fabrizio Romano also said this, which I thought was quite interesting regarding the transfer news. So let me get this up for you here. He said, first of all, the relationship with Cody Gakpo's agent is very good because they are the same agents of Erik Ten Hag. So the relationship with the agents is a really big point. So Romano said keep an eye out for Cody Gakpo because obviously they've already spoke the whole of last summer. Gakpo was very close to joining United. Ten Hag actually wanted Antony and Gakpo, but because Ajax made us overpay so much for Antony, he could only get one or the other, and Antony's who he loves because he already had a relationship with Antony. But Romano saying keep an eye out for Gakpo. It would sort of be an easy deal to do. PSV are open to selling Gakpo. We know Gakpo would want to come. We know the agent relationship is good because they share the same agents and all of that. And we know that Gakpo really wanted United, was disappointed he couldn't. So Romano is saying that United need to keep an eye out for Cody Gakpo. Now, Cody Gakpo could maybe happen in January because PSV would be open to selling him. However, he's not an out-and-out striker, and I do think we need a striker more than a winger in January, but he could play there as well. However, what I will say about Cody Gakpo, and I want to get this up here. So I do look horrifically dead today. I'm very hungover, so I don't normally look this horrifically dead. But this is Cody Gakpo's stats. So left winger, 23 years of age, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Already this season, the guy has 10 goals and 9 assists in 13 games. Cody fucking Gakpo, Cody Firepo. I mean, honestly, 10 goals and 9 assists in 13 games. He's got 19 goal contributions in 1,000 minutes this season. For me, United need to go for United should go for Gakpo in January, purely for depth. This guy, honestly, I think this guy is a baller. I always said I think this guy. I've always said I will go for Antony because that's who Ten Hag wants and that's who Ten Hag truly wants, and you should always back your manager. But I've always said about Cody Gakpo, he's much better value than Antony. This guy would have been £30 million, 10 goals, 9 assists in 13 games this season. I think that's absolutely mad. 8 goals and 6 assists in the Eredivisie within 7 games this season. To put that into context, Cody Gakpo is 2 assists away from equaling Antony's tally of last season, and he's already 7 games into the Eredivisie. I think that's absolutely mad, Cody Gakpo stats. If we get Gakpo, then it's Marcus out the door if we buy a striker too. For me, I think we need a striker. I think we need a winger. I think we need a box-to-box midfielder. I think we need a right back, and I think we need a goalkeeper. However, I don't see the Glazers buying more than 3 players as well. I go for Vlahovic. He needs saving from Juventus. Osimhen is talented but injury-prone. We already have Martial. I agree. I think Vlahovic, Osimhen, Tony all go for, but maybe because of Martial, you want someone that isn't too injury-prone. I saw Vlahovic score a fucking brilliant free kick not that long ago as well. Gakpo better than Antony. I think he's better value for money than Antony, but Antony's who Ten Hag wanted. So that is the situation as well. Please do subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed to Alice Talks Football. Remember, I go live every single evening on the channel, keeping you guys up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates and more. So please do subscribe down below. It would mean a lot. But let's go back into the transfer news, people. Let's get that off the screen. Let's go back into the transfer news. Let's get my stupid hungover face off the screen. So, obviously, that was the Gakpo story. I've lost my mouth. There it is. That was the Gakpo story. Fabrizio Romano also said this on Gakpo once there. I just needed a sip of water. My mouth was so fucking dry. Fabrizio Romano also said, at one point during the summer, they, as in Manchester United, were really thinking about both Gakpo and Antony as concrete options, but they never made an official bid. Now, the reason, and we know the reason we never made an official bid, was because of somebody out there called Joel and Avram Glazers, who, to be fair, Antony was really expensive. Ten Hag wanted both, but because of the price of Antony, we couldn't get both. And then Romano came out and said that Man United did have talks with Cody Gakpo's agent, and we did have a verbal agreement with them, and the player was ready to say yes to Manchester United. However, at the time, their focus was solely on Antony, so no bid was made. So we know United generally did have a genuine interest in Cody Gakpo. It was just because of the Antony situation that we didn't go out for Cody Gakpo as well. Someone said, I feel like we need established strikers right now. Someone who can score consistently like Haaland. I do agree. I think you look at Haaland right now, that's what United need. I think that we need to go big for a striker in the summer to replace Ronaldo. I think for me, the number one priority is a striker. The number two priority is probably a good box-to-box ball-carrying midfielder. A number three priority is a right back, and a number four priority is probably maybe a long-term De Gea replacement as well. I do like Jude Bellingham. Always have. I watched Gakpo game he plays for PSV, 45 minutes left wing, 45 minutes striker for PSV, plays striker for the national team. So apparently Gakpo can play striker, because I'd watched Gakpo and I thought he was playing as a striker when I watched him last. However, whenever it's always written down he plays as left wing, probably because he starts as left wing, because I did think he could play striker, but I do know he's more predominantly left wing. We're 62 likes away from 300 likes, guys. So look, we've got 470 people watching. Please hit that like button. It's my birthday. Please do hit that like button. Let's go for 300 likes as well. Honestly, the money we paid. Is it true about Griezmann coming to United? No. I mean, it's possible, but Romano even said this. You know, the Griezmann to United stories is the Spanish clubs pushing it for media attention. Now, we know, because of the fucking De Jong saga all transfer window, that the Spanish media are bigger lies than the English media, because the Spanish media, they need clicks for money. The more clicks they get, the more views they get, the more money they get, the Spanish media. So they need stories that's going to get clicks. So they write a story about United full of lies for clicks. That's what the Spanish media do. And the Spanish media, it's going a bit quiet. Let's link Griezmann to United. That will get clicks. That will get us money. And that's what Romano's saying. The Spanish media lie. Also, is Griezmann a Ten Hag signing? Absolutely not. What relationship does Griezmann have with Ten Hag? And does Griezmann have the characteristics that other Ten Hag signings have? Not at all. For me, there's nothing in the Griezmann to United story as well. Hashtag Glazers out as well. Hashtag Glazers out. Big up Daniel in the chat as well. And Jude Bellingham is a generational talent, and next summer all the top teams are going for him. I would be surprised if Ten Hag can bring him here, but hardly, because the Glazers are already blocking the January market. This is the thing. If we had ambitious owners, I think we could get Bellingham. I think Bellingham is definitely a player Ten Hag wants. In fact, Tier 1 sources have confirmed Ten Hag wants Jude Bellingham. However, because of who owns our club, because of the incompetence of our owners and the lack of incompetence to spend, and our weird relationship with Dortmund, because, you know, we don't have the best relationship with Dortmund, I think that it's a difficult one with Bellingham, because a lot of people want him. I think Ten Hag wants him, but I think at the end of the day, I don't have faith in our board and our owners to get the deal done. But I would like Bellingham at United as well. You can't win anything without a top striker who scores 25 goals a season. We don't have that. I agree. Man City did win the league without one, but I do agree with what you mean as well. I do think we need a top striker as well. 100%. People say Bellingham to Spurs. I cannot see Bellingham under Conte and Bellingham at Spurs as well. I think for me, Bellingham is very much a Ten Hag player or a Klopp player. You know, look at Bellingham's very much suits a modern manager. He's a young player. I think he's a generational talent. Bellingham needs a modern manager that has a reputation for bringing through youth. I think Bellingham could be good for Potter. I wouldn't be shocked. Now, I know Bellingham hasn't been linked to Chelsea yet, but Chelsea need a midfielder. Chelsea desperately need a midfielder. You know, Gallagher looks fucking shite for Chelsea. Mount ain't all that, and he's more advanced. He's more of a winger anyway. Jorginho, Kovacic are kind of fallen off. Kante's fallen off. Chelsea, I think, need a midfielder desperately. I think Bellingham is someone I could see working really great with Graham Potter at Chelsea. And I think he could go to Chelsea, because we know Todd Boehly will fucking spend the money. I'd be honest, I think Bellingham is going to end up at Chelsea, although he's only been linked to United or Liverpool. I think for me, if we had ambitious owners, I'd say Bellingham will end up at United because of Ten Hag. But I see Bellingham going to Chelsea and being a fucking player under Graham Potter. That's what I would really predict happen as well. But yeah, Alice, you should order Chinese tonight. I had a lasagna, but I do like a Chinese. I do. Do I get a Chinese? No, I can't get a Chinese. I've eaten a load. I might get a Chinese tomorrow, actually. I do fancy a Chinese. I just love fried salt chicken, fried pork, sweet and sour. Alice, is it true that Frankie de Jong's going to renew his contract at Barcelona? I mean, if he's a mug, he will. And is Frankie de Jong a mug? We'll wait and see. But I have no clue as well. Fabrizio Romano did say on the United stand today that Manchester United made the mistake for not going for a striker in January with players like Vlahovic and Alvarez available. United can't miss this January. And this is what Ten Hag's been saying to the board reportedly. So I want to get this on the thing. So this is Romano's opinion on United. We missed out on some really good strikers last January. And, you know, I think Ten Hag's been based. Ten Hag wants to spend in January. You know that. Ten Hag knows what profile of player he wants next. Ten Hag's ready to start the next phase of his rebuild. Ten Hag is here in September, already planning for the January window and next summer's window. Ten Hag's focused on United. He wants to go into the next stage of the rebuild. And Ten Hag knows, we can't afford to not completely rule ourselves out from signing people in January. Last summer, we refused to spend anyone in January because Rangnick was there and they didn't know the permanent manager, and that was their excuse. Ten Hag's the permanent manager. Ten Hag's the long-term manager. There are players like Alvarez and Vlahovic who are available in January that would be brilliant for United right now. We'd kill for one of those players right now. And Ten Hag's real message to the Glazers is probably something like this. If there's someone good available in January that's going to suit my project and they're going to go by the time the summer starts, can we get them in January? Ten Hag wants Ivan Toney. He really wants Ivan Toney. But let's say Chelsea decide in January to go for Ivan Toney and the Glazers say we're not spending in January. Ten Hag loses out on his first choice summer striker in Ivan Toney. So he's already at a disadvantage come summer. And that, I think, is what Ten Hag's trying to say to the board. I want someone good to come in the summer, but if there's an opportunity to get them in January, or if they're not going to be available in the summer, Vlahovic and Alvarez were available last January. We desperately need them now, and we didn't get them last January, missed out on them. We don't want to do that mistake again. And it's very obvious Ten Hag wants to invest in January, but the Glazers, they're saying they don't have the money. The annoying thing is we know there's money at United, and we know the money will come out at United in the form of dividends. And we know there'll probably be a really good young player available that Ten Hag wants in January. And I just know they're not going to spend. And because they won't. They won't spend until the summer. They won't. Thank you very much for the super chat. Happy birthday, Alice. Keep the shots going. Big up. Thanks for the super chat. Really appreciate it as well. Go for Thai, Alice. I do like Thai as well. But the only thing I don't like about Thai is they put egg bits in their noodles. I like egg noodles, but sometimes they have a Thai and there's bits of egg in the noodle, which I don't like because I don't actually like egg. I like everything egg goes into, like cake. There's egg and cake. There's egg and noodles, but I don't like when they have scrambled egg in the noodles as well. But someone said happy birthday, Alice. First time on the channel. I like what you're saying. How much you're saying effing word. You're hungover, but I love the shithousey. Appreciate the chats, guys. We're 11 likes away from 300 likes, so big up everyone in the chat. Big up Daniel. Let's get into the final few stories though as well. Fabrizio Romano spoke about Jonathan David from Lille, saying he was available this summer for about 35 million euros, but many clubs wanted to wait. But now Canada at the World Cup, it could be a good opportunity in the January market. So Jonathan David is someone that Fabrizio Romano expects to be available in the January market that United could potentially go for as well. But I want to get into some little bits of news, a little bit of information coming out here and there about United players, bishy, bashy, boshy. We obviously got into the Laurie Whitwell story, but there's a few things I quickly want to touch on. One, United have got 13 games between October 2nd and November 13th. How are we going to manage that? But someone said to me today, how bad will United be if one of the back four gets injured? That's my question for you guys. Because I do think that back four needs to be protected at all costs. Because if you go from Varane to Maguire again, you go from 100% win rate to the player that has 100% loss rate. We've won every single game Varane started and conceded. We've conceded 3 goals in the 7 games we've had Varane and Martinez. We conceded 6 goals in the 2 games we had Maguire and Martinez. My biggest fear is an injury to that back four. And I think you can't play that back four every game come this next period because there's one every 3 days. So it's really about, we've got to pray that Maguire becomes good again. We've got to absolutely pray and beg that Maguire becomes good and Luke Shaw becomes good, because that back four is so integral to United, so integral to Ten Hag and the way he wants to play. Romano's just come out with this, though. Romano's come out of this. So it's been said by Laurie Whitwell, United won't spend. Now, this is just news coming in now from Romano, saying that Manchester United will go for a striker in January if they find the right one. Now, this is an interesting thing. So for me, I think we only go for a striker in January if A, Ronaldo leaves in January, and B, it's not very expensive, because I can't see them spending a lot of money. But Romano's just contradicted what has been said by Laurie Whitwell, what's been said by all the Tier 1 journalists. He's saying if United find the right person on the market, they'll go for a striker in January, which I find really interesting. What's your thoughts on that? Maybe we'll go for Gakpo. Romano did say keep an eye on Gakpo. I know Ten Hag wants Ivan Toney, but he will be about 60 million, so I don't think that will happen. But let me know which striker you'd sign in January down below. I'd like Osimhen, but I think he's injury prone. I'd like for Vlahovic, but I think he'll be massively overpriced and unattainable. So I would probably go for someone like Gakpo on the cheap. However, I'm thinking long-term Ronaldo replacement. Maybe I think Ivan Toney would be brilliant under Ten Hag. I think he's underrated, Ivan Toney. He really is as well. October is years away. October's a week and a half away. October's a week and a half away. In 2 weeks' time, the international break will be over, and we can be like, thank fuck. 2 weeks' time, we would have played Man City and hopefully win. For me, if we can get him, I would go for him. But unfortunately, I don't think we'll get him as well. Kudus, 100%. Don't see Ajax giving us anyone for a while, though. Any decent striker around 25. I think that's the age rate as well. He's not super injury prone, but we want someone that can stay fit with bloody Martial was out. But apparently Vlahovic contributes nothing to defence, but he is a striker. And I also like Osimhen, but I think he'd be over 100 million. I think he would be. Napoli paid a lot of money for him. And I think if we want him, we've got to play a lot of money. And the annoying thing is, I think a really good upcoming striker is Julian Alvarez. And I think he would have been brilliant. And we had an opportunity to get him cheap. Ragnick suggested we get him. But the United board just thought, no. We're not going to spend money. We only want our dividends, blah, 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 blah. But guys, I want to thank everybody for tuning into today's live stream. Please do smash that like button. And if you are watching right now and you're not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe down below if you're new, because I do go live every single evening on the channel, keeping you guys up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates, and more. So please do smash a like, please do subscribe, please do share the video and all of that. We're talking about, obviously, the main talking point of today's video was Ten Hag's been having a meeting throughout this international break with the Glazers, with the board, discussing long-term plans. However, the board, the Glazers, they say the budget's tight. They're not interested in spending in January. Ten Hag wants to spend in January. We'll have to wait and see what happens in January. For me, I think, there's a long way to go. I hope we do invest in January, but I think we could have a disappointing 2023. And if we do look at my tweet, I want to go back to what I said at the beginning of the video, which was this. Remember, the Glazers didn't want to buy Anthony. It was only when Jip Ratcliffe went public they started spending. If the Glazers out movement goes quiet, I fully expect Ten Hag to get shafted next Jan and next summer. And I think Ten Hag, he wants money spent on him. He wants players in January. Well, the Glazers don't want to spend money. We'll have to wait and see. But thanks everyone for tuning into today's video. Smash a like, smash a subscribe. Daniel said he would have taken Vlahovic at West Ham. Keep the notification bell on so you know when I'm live. And footballers caught up with the Glazers. They can't carry on running the club the way they are doing. The small clubs are forced into spending. United have to spend or sell. Yeah, 100%. There's too much money in football now to act the way they did. But big up everybody in the chat. See you next time. Thank you everyone for watching, and bye.